the hell do you think you're doing? Dragging your butt through the day, selling body and soul to a bunch of bland normals? Acting stupid so they'll think you're one of them? Tired of getting all of the guilt, but none of the sex? There is a simple answer, dear friend. A glowing beacon of slack amidst the turmoil and darkness. It's J.R. Bob Dobbs, the living slack master, and his church of the SubGenius. Bob brings a new destiny for the abnormal, for Bob comes to justify our sins, to unmask the conspiracy, and to get us back the slack they stole away. It's us versus them. Are you gonna fry in hell on earth alongside the pink boys, or will you pull the wool over your own eyes and accept Bob into your mind? Repent, quit your job, slack off, and praise Bob!
Church of the SubGenius, eternal salvation, or triple your money back.
Praise Bob. The Fates have brought you into possession of a SubGenius instructional video barrage tape. Prepare yourself. You are about to be remade into a new being through forbidden knowledge previously kept secret for centuries by the jealous priesthoods of many religions. Caution. Improper viewing techniques may lead in some persons to dependency, seizures, cranial fits, priapic conditions, micturition, sternutation, subtle glandular mutations, and in some territories, legal arrest. However, if the viewer follows instructions and trusts completely in Bob, this tape can produce an unsurpassable beatific experience that can last for hours, days, weeks, possibly even centuries. This videotape bears a patented Dobbs-Drome PowerShell time code, which may cause some home video decks to react unpredictably. Although only a small percentage of playback systems or their owners have suffered permanent damage from this signal, the SubGenius Foundation Incorporated is not responsible for injuries or damages inflicted by paranormal events during tape play mode. The tape also contains a subliminal hypnopediatrics trance-inducement tone, operating beyond the range of human perception. However, pets in the viewing room may exhibit unusual behavior, as may small children and certain less evolved adults. If such behavior anomalies last more than 2 days after viewing, consult a physician. However, this brainwave enfolding signal is generally harmless and should actually enhance your learning abilities during the program. Special interactive holosonic stereo effects produced on the Ultomate Cerebral Sync Lock Interocitor are designed to trigger stem cleavage, or brain division between the forebrain and hindbrain. Using newly discovered break-thinking principles, the viewer's brainwaves are locked into synchronization with the tape's underlying suggestions by means of neuroelectric pulses. Plant growth and gas mileage of nearby automobiles may be affected. For the unworthy, this tape may be a one-way ticket down a bottomless mental pit from which there can be no escape. In unreceptive viewers, there is a danger of synaptic backfire in the brain pan, caused by overheating of the attention gland. This dense packing of brain cells without proper organic coolants, such as FROP, has been blamed for 3 recent cases of spontaneous human combustion. Do not over-medicate. High dosages have so sensitized the third nostril receptors of some viewers that they were unable to stop seeing the tape even after it had been turned off. This tape is to be used only by the person to whom it is prescribed. Do not operate a motor vehicle following viewing. Do not operate heavy farm machinery at speeds over 70 miles an hour. The demons you may see during the initial hallucination sequence are not real. If you do not panic, this phase will end after a few minutes. Always resurface from the hypnosis slowly. Coming out of the tape has been likened to a total rebirth process, if managed successfully. If you have trouble re-entering the Earth plane, focus on Bob and chant his name until you remember your own.
No trouble. Ladies and gentlemen, please keep yourselves adjusted. We're having operating difficulties, which has necessitated a delay.
Wake up, puppet boy!
Do not attempt to flip the tape when you reach the end of side 1. Do not attempt to flip the tape when you reach the end of side 1. No matter what you are told by later instructions on the tape, there is no side 2. However, if you do discover one, don't look at it. If you follow these instructions, you will experience a profound cathartic reaction to the flow of archetypal images and racial memories. You may find yourself laughing and crying convulsively, and even astrally projecting. These reactions are normal. Enjoy them. Little realized, even by leading scientists, there are really two races, actually two distinct species of so-called human beings. If you gaze upon any given street, normally you might never suspect that only some of these people are true humans. Outside appearances offer no clue that among this ordinary-looking crowd, on an ordinary day, a certain number of these people are actually sub-geniuses. We would have to creep inside their heads to know whether this person or that carries the rare sub-genius gene. But once inside those heads, we would discover a vast new universe, a new dimension, coexisting not always in harmony alongside the mundane workaday world of the common human. Another world that until now has been forced into hiding. Now at this very moment, the veils of secrecy can be torn aside. We, the persecuted, may now dare to raise our heads high and declare, "Behold us, for we are the sub-geniuses." But what is a sub-genius? How can we, differ so much from the humans, whose nonsensical laws and customs we have been forced to obey? Why have so many of us been kept in ignorance of our true heritage, a heritage that dates back farther than man is thought to have existed? For in the days of Atlantis, we helped to design the humans. Certainly, in retrospect, this now seems to have been our greatest mistake. So, what is the difference? Examine this seemingly docile crowd, and know that in some few, simmering beneath a placid surface, there broils a veritable cauldron of repressed sub-genius awareness, ready at any moment to explode outward, often with catastrophic results.
Stickers and graffiti were showing up in really
But just who is this man, Bob? Some call him the Slackmaster, the High Epoch, the Saint of Sales. Others call him liar, pimp, whoremonger, a sleazy con man, foisting his dangerous scam off on gullible suckers. Well, dear friend, J.R. Bob Dobbs isn't some outmoded, overused deity from ancient fairy tales, but a living, bleeding deity for today, the divinely appointed messenger of slack, the mystic super salesman upon whose wheeling and dealing skills the fate of the universe hinges.
He can sell you anything, and
Born to humble parents somewhere in the Midwest, the child Bob experienced a traumatic close encounter with a UFO at the age of 3. Soon thereafter, he began to exhibit strange powers of persuasion. By age 6, he had made his first million, almost by accident. In college, he met and married his first and still his primary wife, Connie, who is now revered by female sub-genii as the blessed anti-virgin. With Connie's encouragement, the young Dobbs became a salesman of legendary, almost frightening abilities, known to his peers as the man who could sell anything. He worked his way up to the very top of the conspiracy ladder and might have stayed there. But late one night in 1953, while working on an amateur television of his own design, an event occurred which was to become a milestone on man's mind path to slack. He was suddenly seized up in the spirit by the hand of Jehovah One itself, the cosmic puppeteer of the Old Testament, the wrathful alien space god from some corporate sin galaxy. In this timeless moment, which we call the divine immaculation of the Bob, Dobbs received the first of countless brain-curdling pronouncements which form the sacred prescriptures of the Church. He was shown a vision, a world where all humanity was equally wealthy, rich beyond imagining, but without working. This experience, combined with his UFO-given sales magic, led him inevitably into the religion field. He quickly discovered the golden rule embodied in his classic saying, "They'll pay to know what they really think." The true subgenius can learn to think for himself, but only Bob can show him how. And so, Bob Dobbs founded his church upon a sandy beach of common sense, sense of humor, and dollars and cents. A likely story, you say, but it's simple, really. Bob is lucky, not smart. In fact, by the perverted conspiracy standards of intelligence, he is gifted with incredible stupidity. He lives in a perpetual state of contracted consciouslessness. This enables him to act without thinking, to surf effortlessly on the luck plane, to float down the fabled path of least resistance. In fact, to make $1 million every time he screws up. Thus, it is not his wisdom, but his divine follies, his holy blunders which we emulate. The miracle is not in what Bob does to you, but in what he allows you to do to yourself. He brings the student to the realization that everything you know is true. Under the conspiracy, you're being ripped off every day, but you can learn to enjoy it.
Big man, Bob. $1.
He called his seminars instant instructions for those who follow no master. He journeyed to Tibet, and under ancient holy men he perfected the arts of glandscaping and acu-beating. He also began modeling for hundreds of magazine ads, leaving early clues of his presence. These old ads are the only known photos of Dobbs, for he otherwise remains elusive, shunning both the spotlight and the authorities. In 1979, he recruited two randomly selected nobodies, Dr. Philo Drummond and Ivan Stang, to begin a public outreach arm and begin spreading his seed word of slack.
Basically, the church is so omnipervasive and so full that we could not possibly get into the dogma in any less than 3 or 4 hours. This will outline everything.
The subgenius does not pretend to super-knowledge, but to sub-knowledge, knowledge of the under-things, the hollow earth from whose darkness issue the Nazi hell creatures and other demons of the abyss. It is in contemplation of the under-things, the underwear lurking just below the clothing of existence, that the subgenii display what genius they have. The study of this substratum, the foundation garment underlying reality, is the subgenius's strength, for it is from this source that he or she taps the infinite resources of a force that is completely incomprehensible to humans. The force of slack.
The first rule of the Church of the Subgenius is...
Slack, what is it? Well, if you have to ask, you will never know. You were born with original slack, an infinite supply of it. But the conspiracy has most of it now. They don't even know what it is, but that hasn't stopped them from stealing it away. How do you think you ended up a slave to their so-called work?
You have your brain.
True slack is by definition indefinable. It is a kind of direct perception, unfettered by common sense. It is not mere laziness. It is rather a kind of active sloth. Slack in its pure form makes happiness seem like agony by comparison. Next to slack, the nirvana known to mystics and saints is like endless torment. Slack is different for each person. One might call it something for nothing. But the normals, the mediocritans, the somnambulacs, and pseudo-subslans have tried to make it something which we have been led to believe we must work to buy. It is this yearning for slack that separates us from the normals. The human may live out his entire life in a grinding cycle of slacklessness, his hours consumed by meaningless toil, interspersed with meaningless leisure. Yet he never feels cheated. He thinks it is natural. Perhaps we should pity them, but face it, most people are venal jerks, half-witted cattle, racing each other to be first to the slaughterhouse, and stampeding you along with them. Wouldn't you like revenge on these mediocritans, these pink boys, these box-dwelling Barbies and Kens, these normals who have made normality the norm? Pinks are but living stereotypes, insensate meat puppets and food tubes who lack and fear the spark of originality that ignites every subgenius soul. But the long, senseless march into slacklessness may soon come to an end. Oh, it won't happen without a bitter struggle, but at least there is hope. For in this, eccentrics, unpredictables, true visionaries, let us observe a few examples using the hidden camera. A subgenius, obviously. The speech patterns are unmistakable. And here is another one. And here is another one. And here is another one. But what of this man? All very different, yet all subgeniuses. They share only the quest for slack and the love of their beloved spiritual teacher, the living avatar of slack, J.R. Bob Dobb.
Bob.
Besides his own exaggerated human nature and the powers granted him by Jehovah One, Bob also benefits from being the chosen broker on Earth for superior beings from the furthest reaches of known space, the so-called men from Planet X, or Xists, for they are nothing like men. Bob has a covenant with these angelic beings, a cosmic contract, a deal. On July 5th, 1998 at 7 a.m., the Xists shall make a mass landing on this planet. The children of Bob shall be rewarded at this foretold rupture, this day of judgment, when all those who paid their church dues will be lifted up in power and glory to gain new homes and bodies aboard the pleasure saucers of the sex goddesses, all the while watching the hapless pinks twitch and bleat and wail in the death throes of their world. And we faithful shall be transfigured into new enlightened beings, superior mutants called Overmen and Uberwomen, who will start a new Jerusalem in the promised land of Dimension X, Asgard, the zone of eternal slack and cytospasmic ooze squirt. But what is the commodity with which Bob will bargain Earth's fate? Some claim it is the souls of his followers. The true subgenius does not question Bob's wisdom in such matters. We have only our simple faith that heaven will be ours if we only believe. Ironically, his mission will not be to sell Earth, but to prevent Earth being sold and transformed into a kind of Stuckies in space. But this plan will succeed only if conditions are just right at the appointed time. Otherwise, dark forces of antiquity will be awakened from their slumber of eons and rise again from Atlantis to rule our world in their sizeless grip. These primordial elementals, the elder gods, have countless demonic and interplanetary minions carrying out their unholy schemes. They even control Bob's own evil twin brother, Dick Dobbs, the unclean one. With all his powers, could Dobbs really be defeated by these beings? Ah, but you must not underestimate the conspiracy. Its weapons are so insidious, even the human conspiracy leaders are unaware of them. The fact that the conspiracy itself is ignorant that it is a conspiracy gives it such control over our minds that the very thought becomes unthinkable.
You cannot think about...
The bovinity and temerity of the human mind itself does all the work. The evil ones may just lean back and watch the little humans march gladly, even proudly, to their doom. But we too must be vigilant, for, thanks to the false slack bombarding us daily, it is terrifyingly easy for even a subgenius to slip back into normality.
We live in a dangerous world.
$1. $1.
Oh.
Bad.
Big bad, Bob.
$1.
We stand at a crossroads. The tenuous slack that a subgenius may occasionally enjoy could be rent to shreds at any moment, for the human puppets of the elder gods continue their senseless plunge into madness and anti-slack, dragging us and our whole beloved planet ever closer to the brink of destruction, be it by the nuclear kiss of Jehovah One, ecological disaster, or invasion by hostile aliens. Which will it be? Destruction of planet Earth, or eternal slack under the benevolent rule of Bob? Or are the two the same? The feminist dupes of the conspiracy charge that not enough members are women. Bob would agree to that. Indeed, he would say there will never be enough women. But at least the ones we have are all woman. And Bob is all man, the James Bond of Zen masters, the most dashing religious leader of his time.
You mean to say that Bob has actually had one of those horrible diseases? That isn't true, Doctor. Is that true, Bob?
Just a minute, Sally. One scandal at a time.
Yes, Bob Dobbs is a sex god. Rather than forgiveness, he offers something far more powerful, an excuse, a divine, all-inclusive excuse which allows the bearer to free himself from the grip of temptation by overindulging in it until it releases him. The true seeker must give himself up to temptation, or he will never conquer it. The sad, weekly self-denial preached by the New Age movement is pure conspiracy pablum. The true son or daughter of Bob knows that our universe is no laid-back, om-chanting cosmos, but an active, tumultuous, squirting universe bent on rampant reproduction and easy grins. The false cults may try to teach personal transformation, psychic development, human potential, but Bob goes straight for the glands and seeks to amplify the self, to bloat the abnormality potential of his pupils. Only through excess can one contact the lower self, where the real decisions are made. Don't just eat a hamburger, eat the hell out of it.
Oh, what the hell was that?
The advanced initiate, once freed from conspiracy programming as well as the worldly goods that enslaved him, makes his pilgrimage to Dobbstown, the church's fabulous walled encampment deep in the jungles of Malaysia. There, the initiate's third nostril is surgically opened by psychic surgeons, allowing him or her to whiff-read the psychic stench of those around him. He masters the sciences of schizophreniatrics and memory editing, creating a clean slate on which Bob may write. The art of excremeditation is taught, whereby the mind is voided upon the great throne of relief.
You don't use your mind.
What is it that truly sets Bob apart from other would-be holy men and self-appointed gurus? Everything. For Bob has always existed. There have always been Bobs. Every epoch of man's history has had its Bob. Most were what we would call good Bobs. Others, well, we needn't dwell on that. The traveling salesman jokes of mythology are based on his early exploits. So many ask, is Bob God? The Slackmaster himself vehemently denies that he is the Messiah. His mission is merely to show us how to live with our sins. And who better? Bob admits he is a sinner. He practically embodies all the failings of mortal men.
He has the power.
Short-duration personal saviors, or shore-durper saves. It is foolish and cowardly to cling to any one personal savior. The hectic pace of modern life demands disposable saviors, specific ones, suited to the moment at hand. A sort of while-you-wait, do-it-yourself religion.
Now you're short.
Form your own local denomination, or clinch. Go forth into the world, spreading the seed word. Even humans can be tricked into thinking they are subgeniuses. As Bob once said to L. Ron Hubbard, they may be pink, but their money is green. But there is a danger here, a grave danger in sharing Bob's wisdom with the unworthy, for prophecy tells us that the greatest threat to slack will come from inside the church. They must be taught that Bob is not the answer, and neither is anything else. Dobbs doesn't want followers, only their money. And so we must purge our ranks of the unclean, deprogram our own zombies. The methods he advocates are drastic, for he hath commanded, "You shall do as I say, and think for yourself, or kill me." For it was in this San Francisco theater that, if we are to believe the photographic evidence, Bob Dobbs was slain by a crazed assassin's bullet. Steel yourself, for the footage you are about to see is not for the faint-hearted. But so many questions remain unanswered. Some investigators insist that puzzling evidence was but a dupe, a patsy, a fall guy for a concealed cadre of trained gunmen. Clumsy attempts at a cover-up have only served to inflame the issue. On that black day, the church was left reeling in shock from this blow. Without the guidance of Bob, the church is an empty mockery. But many wonder, is Bob really dead? Can he die? Was the whole murder an elaborate ruse staged by Dobbs himself, in which an unwitting decoy look-alike was sacrificed so that Bob could continue waging the good fight in secrecy? Yesterday, the Church of the Subgenius was only a few brave fools tugging at the shoelaces of the Colossus. Today, it has already become the Zorro of world religions, scratching a bloody bee on the bloated buttocks of the conspiracy.
This whole thing, this whole SubGenius church, is just so crazy that it just might work.
The conspiracy has 50,000 nuclear weapons, and the Church of the Subgenius, we've only got 3. But yet we dare to fight them anyway, and that's the miracle of it. Because see, it's always been the crazy people who were dumb enough to stand up against the Colossus.
In a sense, Bob Dobbs can never die. He represents more than just a man with a pipe and a know-it-all grin. He represents the quest of all mutants for freedom. In talking to most subgeniuses today, you'll find an unshakable faith that their high epopt will rise again. But this time, he will come not as gentle teacher and salesman, but as an avenging angel, meting out the wrath of Jehovah One upon the guilty and the innocent alike, cleansing the earth with the divine radioactive, all-scouring, all-purifying annihilation of his boundless love.
A friend?
With unquestioning faith in Bob's word, the end of the world can easily become your personal stepping stone to prosperity and a new beginning for us all. But what can you do? Bob is the gun and you are the bullet. The showdown is fast approaching. The church is still unknown, but its infectious doctrines spread across continents. Church headquarters, the first Megafist Temple Lodge, is housed in this Dallas skyscraper, from which Dobbs' secret mandates are issued to his agents in the dreaded Brotherhood of Bob. But this mighty edifice represents but the tip of a wandering rogue iceberg. The words, hymns, and sound effects of Dobbs are disseminated on a weekly basis to thousands of devout radio listeners in most major cities, even as far away as China and darkest Africa. Spectacular, lucrative, spirit-filled SubGenius devivals move from town to town like floating crap games, always a few steps ahead of the police. Here, slack-fired preachers and ranters perform head launchings, pill dispensations, and both healings and sickenings of audience members, depending on their needs. Dozens of church musical combos, called doctor bands after the original Doctors for Bob of Arkansas, deprogram entire paying audiences, even while rejecting outmoded notions of rhythm and melody. And, until the authorities catch on, even common normals can purchase the Word of Bob itself in condensed form, the legendary Book of the SubGenius, available in bookstores everywhere. But the only certain way to receive the Dobbs teachings in uncut form is to tithe directly to the church. For a suggested love offering of only $20, sent to P.O. Box 140306, Dallas, Texas, you will be ordained as a card-carrying minister and receive the huge official magazine of churchly news and doctrine, The Stark Fist of Removal. Some purchase thousands of Bob's handy pamphlets with which to recruit the worthy and to perplex the normals, to fill their minds with questions that only Bob can answer through his chosen apostles, his fishers of wallets. And what is money? Merely another tool of the conspiracy, except when it gains power by passing from your pocket to Bob's. And Bob offers a guarantee that can't be beaten. Eternal salvation, or triple your money back.
Now that you've seen what you've seen, will you be with us in the saucers on X Day, or instead will you be left crawling through the glowing rubble, a doubter to the end? In the sweet name of Bob, you must be saved, even if it kills.
You will emerge from trance on the tone, remembering everything except your instructions for the Omega contingency plan.